you our garden. And as well, I just wanted to show you this place. It is the path that leads to our community lot, and this vegetation here was cut down to the ground at the beginning of August. Everything was really dry, and they cut it down because of fire risks and everything. But you can see that it has regrown so nicely, and these are plants that don't get any water at all, except the one from the rain. For example, you can see these beautiful dog plants. They're so that you can see my hand and the size of the leaf. They are enormous, and they've been cut twice this year. So we wish we could have something like this in our garden. I will show you our garden in a moment. Hello and welcome to our garden. Today is the 3rd of October, and we had 28 degrees Celsius today, as highest, and at the moment is around 26, which we can say that it's probably 78 Fahrenheit if I'm not mistaken. And we're in the middle of our tiny plot. We have a lot of summer plants still in, and we have this beautiful forest of tree cabbage. Most of these plants, you have seen them already in different stages, and as well what we're keeping are a lot of flowers still. They're very nice and bees love them, so I really can't think of even destroying them. So until frost doesn't kill them, I'm gonna try to have them. I have to deadhead some of these, and as well what we have in this corner in between the cabbage, and what really works well was parsley. I was very surprised. We had parsley in different parts of our plot, but this is the only place where it really feels comfortable, and you can see that the plants are quite big. I have to tidy them up a little bit, but they seem to be happy and growing, which surprises me, because I read somewhere, can't remember where, that they say that cabbage plants and most of the brassica family plants, as well as parsley, need a lot of well, they need very fertile soil, and I really don't know if this corner is particularly more fertile, because I can show you, I have planted some of these tree or Galician cabbage plants in another corner of the plot. They're here, and you can see that they're nothing like this. In fact, my neighbor had plants in the same side, and they never grew really well. So we think it might have been a problem with an herbicide or something like this, because as I have mentioned before, this was a cornfield before, so we can probably suspect that there was a herbicide use. Now we have mint as well in several parts. We have chocolate mint here, and this is, I think, a peppermint that has gone to flower. And we had here our chicory plants going to seed, and now I have a lot of tiny volunteer plants around here that I suspect are chicories. I don't know if I can get it right. But yeah, we have volunteer plants around here, like under these cabbages there, and in some other parts of the garden. We were never really successful with planting from seed here. Most of the things we had were from the, let's say, radish and radish family. So here we planted maybe 3 weeks ago daikon radishes, which seem to be doing very well. And then on the other side I still have my peppers. We have a lot of basil plants that are flowering. Then we planted some other typical Portuguese cabbage plants around, a couple of them, several peas that volunteered around here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and probably more on the way. And we have more basil that's been flowering, more basil, and yeah, we can say that it's all basil around here in this. And on the other side of the basil and daikon radish plants, we've got kale, more Galician cabbage or tree cabbage. Then we have our zinnias. These ones were a mix, but I don't know how all of these reds were planted together. This was a funny coincidence. And then we have our beans. And we have other basil plants, more mint, and then we have a kind of like a compost pile, and in there I have tried to plant or like make like a hotbed. Well, not exactly a hotbed, I can't call it like this because it will be like too much of a saying. I have these are curcuma plants, and this is a ginger plant. I am really happy about it. They were planted from a bulb that I bought in a bio, like organic shop, and they are quite large actually. It is very nice to see these. Yeah. And then following on the other side, we've got more kale. These ones are almost the same size as when I planted them. This part hasn't been growing very well. Basil was really small. and continues really small. The only exception is this enormous chicory. And then our cosmos plants are fine. We planted some lettuce. We have cilantro around here. Okay, yeah, that's a cilantro. And then we have Brussels sprouts. They're still very small, they haven't developed much. More parsley. This one is not so happy, but this one is small. And then another parsley. We have a lonely okra plant that was planted as a, let's say, second okra crop, but they didn't make it. They didn't quite make it. And then we have more cabbages, more Brussels sprouts plants, and I have some of the tomatoes that are very sad and I have to remove. Then we have our kale, more of the flowers here that are a marigold, and then we have our aubergines that are doing fine, or eggplants. They're still producing, which is really nice. We like aubergines. And then we have achillea plants. We have more mint, and yeah, our tomatoes are really green at the moment. They don't have flowers or anything, but in the end they look as if they're surviving, but we will have to take them out anyway. And then we are trying to encourage this plant here. Here in Portugal we have several plantago species. This is plantago minor. We do consume it. I plan to have a video on this so that we can share how we use it and talk about the benefits of it. I think it's one of the plants that you can easily have in your garden and that is very beneficial for your health. And yeah, it's a nice thing to have, and we always like to add some wild, let's say, or wild domesticated species to our diet. And then a calendula that finally is doing something. In fact, it's getting bigger. I really like it. This is a great joy for me. And then if we go out, I'm gonna show you my latest experiment. This is an okra seed pod. This is enormous. Okay, so we can say that it's not at all good to pick. I left it in order to pick the seed, and we have some more on the way. This one will be ready to pick. Yeah, I think it's even a little bit bigger, but anyway, I have to pick it. And yeah, we have another basil plant here, and then we have our mint that was cut, I think, twice this year. It is nice to have mint around. Then more basil, our kale plants that are doing well. Finally, we are getting a lot of leaves from them. And a funny fact, we had some of them with well, quite a big aphid infestation. I left them a little bit, and in fact now they're better. I don't know what happened. They just have a couple of aphids that I can find now, but not the greatest number that was on them actually. So probably leaving them alone was good. There were some food for the beneficial insects, and then I'm waiting for this cosmos to bloom, and I don't know if I will ever get to it. This was a cosmos that was adopted, but it never got to bloom. I have some other here, as you can see. They're doing their thing, they're very nice, but yeah, we never got to see blooms on this one here. I hope we will be able to show you at least one bloom before it freezes. And then more parsley. We tried to plant some amaranth from the local variety that we could find around. This was a cornfield, I remind you, so probably we will have some other persistent weeds, but amaranth at least is one that we can eat. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We plan to plant more peas, fava beans and other things, but for now this is all we've got, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for joining. All the best and have a great week.